Aspire's Tonearm is unipivot with oil damping, with VTA and azimuth adjustment. Why this architecture for Aspire?
It was all about remaining to the key philosophy of J.Sikora. So there was no question on any other Tonearm than the unipivot construction, which my father believed for him when he was designing his first Tonearm is the most perfect. Of course, we know that in future we will have also in different Tonearm construction, but for this first line of turntables that J.Sikora started to produce, that my father have started, and which we are actually finishing now with Aspire, and I think the only a piece of this puzzle element, which will be Reference Max and Reference Max Supreme version. We will be done with a complete line of J.Sikora turntables from Aspire to Reference Max Supreme with all the Tonearms, all construction with unipivot. In future, we will for sure go for other construction like gimbals. We will see, but yeah. So there was no question about what different Tonearm to use. It must have been the unipivot. And of course, we wanted to use all the same knowledge, all the materials probably that we've been using in higher level Tonearms, Kevlar Tonearms. But it was impossible because of the price of production. So we decided to get to the point from back, I would say. So we decided to change some key elements that are most expensive in the production of the Tonearm and try to find the one in this process that will be almost that good as Kevlar series Tonearm. So because our first intention was to this model do the OM Tonearm, but we were so unsatisfied with every Tonearm that we were considering being made by some manufacturers that could have supplied us one for this entry level, that we have decided that no matter what, we will do it our way. It's just unacceptable. This is not a compromise. It would be, a failure if we are gonna not use our own Tonearm. But we also knew that we cannot change the philosophy and the construction. So we just replaced few elements, key elements. So the biggest problem was, of course, with the Kevlar. You know that whenever in the world you see the yellow Tonearm, it must be J.Sikora. We are the only manufacturer who is doing the Kevlar Tonearms, Kevlar ones. And it's an individual process of each tube, of each conical tube. But when you do the Kevlar Tonearm, it's not getting deep into details. Let us be our secret, but you are using the complete sheet of the fabric, and it's very, very hard to reach this final element, which is the conical tube filled with very light and very stiff foam. Also, everything after putting on the fabric itself is being resined, polished and hardened. So we knew that it would be cool to get this process, but Kevlar is too expensive. Not material itself, it's maybe not the most expensive element of that, but manufacturing process, it was tough. So we decided to go for the carbon fiber, for the carbon fiber sleeves, which really reduced the time of building each one significantly. So this was the thing that allows us to remain with the same characteristic in the technological way, how the Tonearm is acting, and also in the sonical way, because we are also using fabric in the same process, but it's a different fabric. So it was the key element to replace. Another one, of course, was the wiring. We went from gold-plated copper supplied by our friend company Sojaton from Krakow, Poland, and we've been looking for less expensive but very well performing other wires. So we have found that it's a pure copper, but it's something that we have been really, really looking for a long time testing, and we have found this option. So the wiring is different. The fabric is different in the one, and also the materials are different because we use the different material in the bearing itself. In the KB Max zirconium series, it's zirconium dioxide. Here we have a stainless steel, and also we have more aluminum elements instead of higher quality bronze elements that are reserved for the KB and the KB series Tonearms.
If someone has Aspire and a limited upgrade budget, what should they improve first? Cartridge, phono stage, isolation platform, or power?
It's so individual. It depends. If you want to improve what you have, you could go for isolation, whatever. If you want to change, you can go, not only improve, but also change. You would definitely go for phono stage or the cartridge. This is something that is like with adding spices to your dish, and isolation platform will not do that for you. It will improve what you have. But if you want to go step forward, look for really changing the components. So the phono stage and the cartridge can do a lot. I don't know in what proportions. It depends on the cartridge and the phono stage in particular of itself. Yeah.
What's one turntable myth you want to kill forever?
Tool that I do not agree with, which is that you cannot use more motors than 2, or you shouldn't use 3, or you must not use 4, which actually I do not agree. It's all about synchronizing everything with a controller. This is what makes a biggest problem, because I believe that each motor makes things more difficult to synchronize together. But once you are dealt with synchronization, you are left with one more thing: the costs. Each one you add, you have to multiply the cost of manufacturing, and also the hum and everything that comes from the engine itself. You just need to reduce it maximum. But once you have dealt with that, and you have a control, which is perfect, and you have the isolation, which doesn't create any hum or any additional sound from the motors themselves, you can get to another myth, which is don't stop and play when you are changing the LP, because you will lose the speed control. Yeah, this is something that pisses me off, and actually is the effect of the first part of my answer. Many people believe that it's something natural, but for me it's like, when you want to get off the car, you should stop the car and get off. When you want to get in, it's the same. So you should stop and play each time you want to take off the LP. And don't worry for your speed control. Don't worry that it will take time to bring it back, because the platter is heavy. Because with a good motors, with a good speed control, and it should be, something obligatory for the high-end turntable, it's not a problem. Yes, but I've heard many myths like that it shouldn't be done. And this is something normal, that you shouldn't stop and play. No. When you fix all these simple problems, which are hard to fix, these are simple to diagnose, but hard to fix.
When you look at the next 3 to 5 years, what does success for J.Sikora actually mean? More models, more availability, higher performance, or better user experience?
Well, I think that each of that, part of each. But for me, it's like just biggest success would be that I would have the same passion that I have now, and I will be that much devoted to what I'm doing. Because when I'll be doing that, I can judge what will be in 5 years from this perspective, which is pointless. Because even next day, there's another perspective, because you have found yourself in a different position. So for me, if, I know that I have the same passion in 5 years, I know that company will be in very good condition, and it will be developed, improved in all the aspects that you have mentioned. It goes together.